Thank you very much, Ron, for all that. You're a most ingenious man, and you solve conundrums, but you've set another conundrum. What if there is no infectious provocation for this illness, which everybody says there is, and all the old stuff says that? What does that mean if you're not finding anything? So how can you both be right? I think I know a solution to it, but I just wonder what you thought about it. And all the researchers working on Epstein-Barr and the herpes viruses who've been shot out of the window now, and the people with the enteroviruses, the Coxsackies, they're still on your side. But I just wonder what your thoughts were about that, really. Are we wasting our time chasing these things, or is there some value in there which will emerge later?
We have to do the RNA viruses if you're worried about the viral infection stuff. And they are good candidates, and some of them are possibly in the intestinal tract. I can't believe they aren't going to get into the bloodstream if they're there, but not necessarily the virus, but the nucleic acid will get there. It's just that the RNA gets degraded very quickly, so we have to do something that is can convert it to DNA very quickly and over a short track. So it's a little different than what the DNA is very stable, so it's easy to do. So we don't know about that.
Thank you very much, everyone. I just wanted to ask a question with mentioning the brainstem, especially Michael. I wondered what your thoughts are on the recent revelations, particularly about Jen Breyer and her remission in terms of releasing the compression on the brainstem through the craniocervical fusion surgery that she has had.
Yeah, so I guess part of the issue is a question of sort of nosology and diagnosis. Does this mean that she actually didn't have the condition that we're all talking about? Or does it mean that the definition of the condition that we're talking about captures a lot of other things? And that's what I personally think it is there's a lot of things that can look this way, and it's not all the same thing. Unfortunately, I personally think that is the reality, and it makes it hard. But for me, the fact that area of the brain being compressed leads to the similar symptoms is an argument that area of the brain is really important. And we sort of know that area for her, assuming that this is really what happened, it's an N of 1, it's not like she was only doing one thing. You know, we have to be careful about inferring causation from that sort of thing, but assuming that it is, it does seem like compression of that area was causing this, at least a lot of the symptoms that she was having. So.
Well, you're speaking, because people ask all this time, how does that workup happen? Because that's always missed.
Yeah, so this is a little controversial, but apparently most people argue that it takes an upright MRI to properly diagnose, because when you're in a supine position, you've relieved, and that, you know, people would argue that part of why those folks have the postural problems is literally because standing up causes a gravitational problem. I mean, I think you have to be really careful, because this is not a mild surgery, and I think that there are, I want to say this sort of like kindly, but I think there are doctors who sort of, this is their thing, and with someone holding a hammer sees a nail everywhere analogy, I think they're going to be seeing a lot of nails, and I think you just really have to be careful to go and have this very invasive surgery with the assumption that it's just going to make it all go away. Just get second, third opinions and be careful.
Yeah, and remember the Chiari malformation thing was what, 10 years ago everyone was supposed to have Chiari malformation, and there were some, but they were rare. So be careful that you don't assume it's been the main thing all along.
I guess I should say one of the things that they ought to do is to see if traction makes the symptoms go away, and then taking the traction away makes the symptoms go back. It's a simple sort of AB design. Yeah.
So I wonder if you have any idea of what might be the link between the impedance and the metabolic trap hypothesis.
Basically none. in the sense that the metabolic trap is probably affecting the dendritic cells, which then communicate with the other cells. And it's set up the cells to have the difficult immune function and the shutdown of some of the metabolism and energy production of those cells. So that makes them susceptible to the salt. So it flows from that initial hypothesis, if it's correct, of being trapped. And once you get into affecting critical brain cells and critical immune cells and critical gut cells, you have a lot of things that are going to happen. A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. Which you would like to have a hypothesis that would actually explain all that, and that's one of the struggles. Because how do you explain all these symptoms? The trap hypothesis actually possibly can explain all those. That's, again, you have to be very careful to cherry pick data that supports it, but there is an intriguing one, and that is there is drugs out there now, good, very potent drugs that inhibit IDO1. That's the exact opposite of what we want. And they were made because they thought they might make cancer cells more susceptible to being killed by the immune system. And if you shut down IDO1, which is what the trap does, the side effect of those drugs is extreme fatigue. And that's an interesting connection. It also predicts if you shut down IDO1 for very long, you'll probably cause ME/CFS. And it'll be interesting to look at some of the people that were in those trials to see how they did. The problem is I think they're all stage 4 cancer patients, and they're probably all dead. And they're also very fatigued from the cancer, so it may be very difficult.
Thank you very much.